Hello everybody. Hello Facebook. Hello Twitter. Hello YouTube. Hello everybody who has been watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. I was going to wait a little bit, but as we all know, Donald Trump, under a democracy, has won the election. Thank you, Windows 10. So, I was going to wait on this video just because it's not gloating. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a Hillary fan, in case anybody has not garnered this watching my videos. However, the degree of hyperbole that was being thrown across my Facebook and Twitter feeds yesterday, after the election, after the concession, after everything, I just have to say something, because this has got to stop. This is part of the problem that we're facing. It's part of the reason why we were in the situation that we were in between choosing two people who, frankly, neither of which were fit to be president. We need to be honest about this. These were the choices that we had. They were not the best choices that we had. And I have to ask, going forward, how Trump got as far as he did. And after the degree of corruption and racism that was exposed in the DNC, how Hillary got where she was. We kind of know how, but why? Why was she there? Why are we now so willing to settle for this? And on the flip side, and this needs to be said, okay, three of the things that immediately popped up on my Facebook feed is, oh great, now we elected a racist, misogynist, anti-feminine. Stop for a second. First of all, he's not a convicted pedophile. He's not a convicted rapist. He's not a misogynist. Regardless of what he said on a tape that wasn't supposed to be recorded, he's not a misogynist. If you actually go and do some research, which, you know, scares the crap out of liberal people completely. If you actually go and do some research, Donald Trump employs more minorities, more women, and more gays than most private companies. He also tends to pay minorities and women much better than even our own federal government. Now, does that excuse what Donald Trump says? No. Is he a racist? No. And I'll explain to you why. An actual racist calls for the death of other races. Period. They don't just say, oh, they're rapists or murderers. They don't say they're illegal and should be deported. They say they should die. That is a racist. A racist says, niggers should die. A racist says, spics should die. A racist says, fags should die. Donald Trump has never said that. So let's get that clear. Okay, on the flip side, everybody's like, well, why didn't Hillary win? Well, first of all, look at what was exposed. Regardless of who was responsible for the hacking that led to the WikiLeaks emails, look at what it exposed. This is a woman who exemplified what people claim white privilege is. She thought she was entitled to a nomination, and she was willing to be as corrupt and racist as necessary to get that nomination. She stole a candidacy from Bernie Sanders. Now, this isn't me defending Bernie Sanders, because after this was exposed, if this man was supposedly such an independent, and so for the people, and so for the betterment of America, why the fuck would you go and endorse this woman and campaign for her? You should have been out. He should have been out there every day telling his supporters, don't you dare vote for this woman. There is a write-in line on the ballot for you. Put my name in there. There was a real possibility that for the first time in the history of this country, we could have had a write-in president. Now, do I necessarily support Bernie Sanders? No. And here's why. Van Jones, for all my disagreeing with him, came out and said, oh, this is a whitewash election. Well, not in the way that he thinks. It's not racist. Here's what happened. For the last 8 years, I and every Anglo-American out there has been told, you're racist, you're sexist, you're homophobic. You hate black men. You think they all belong in jail. You think they all belong in prison. You think they should die. No. Actually, the majority of Anglo-American men support putting black men through college, support jobs for black people, support better neighborhoods and schools for black people. And you know what? For the last 20 years, we've been paying for it. The majority of middle-class working Americans, I hate to remind you, are white. Like it or not, we're the ones who have been paying for social programs, many of which have failed miserably. Welfare does not work. Dumping hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, tax-paying dollars, funded mostly by white working-class Americans, have done nothing to improve inner-city schools, have done nothing to improve American public schools, period. You can remove the equation in race. There are things in this country that just throwing money at them don't solve. And we've gotten to the point where we don't want to die in debt. We don't want to live in poverty. When we know that taxation is illegal, it is theft, and the reappropriation of money based on the guise that somehow it's going to improve people's lives. If you ask anybody who works in developing countries, the greatest source of improvement and betterment of the lives of poor people, it's capitalist economies. Even Bono, the liberal messiah of solving world hunger and poverty, has said, I hate to admit it, but what I have seen is that capitalism is the greatest uplifter of the poor and the impoverished and the infirm. Hello? Bill Clinton will tell you. Hell, everybody champions Bill Clinton, and let's be honest, Bill Clinton is not his wife. Bill Clinton knew you put people to work, their lives get better. The country gets better. Because instead of stewing and worrying about stupid crap like race that isn't actually an issue anymore, or this perceived glass ceiling, or this perceived degree of homophobia, don't get me wrong, racism, homophobia, misogynism are going to be there forever, people. I'm sorry, I hate to, people don't want to admit this. This is not taught. Racism, homophobia, it's not taught. It is a instinct reaction to things that people don't understand or are not knowledgeable about. So instead of immediately hammering everybody who doesn't agree with you as a racist or a misogynist or a homophobe, educate them. Some of them won't listen to you. They're not going to. And that's when you back off and you say, fine, I'm not going to push the issue. But as a gay man, I have said, hey, look, I've gone to religious people. I'm an atheist personally, but I've gone to religious people. And I say, look, I don't necessarily believe in God. But I also don't necessarily believe that I have a right to tell you your religious beliefs should be. I don't. A lot of gay men and women don't. You don't want to bake a cake for me? Fine. The greatest thing I can do is take my money elsewhere. Most notably, supporting gay businesses. And, I encourage that for everybody. You're a Mexican and you don't like the way you're treated at a restaurant? Don't eat there anymore. Don't patronize them. You're black and you don't like the school system that your child's in? I think vouchers are a great idea, but, no school in this country should be failing. Move. You don't like the hood? Get out. Get out. Do what you have to do to get out. Nobody's going to do it for you. But, you know, we have now gone through an election cycle. We have a president. Whether you like him or not, whether you agree with him or not, let's get a little bit of the hyperbole out of the way. He's not a racist, he's not a pedophile, he's not a misogynist, and he's not a homophobe, first of all. Second of all, we live in a democracy. Donald Trump, President Obama, they were not gods. They were not dictators. There is a system in place to prevent that from ever happening. However, and this is where, as a nation, I'm going to say this, as a nation, we have a job. We've been failing at it miserably as a country of keeping the political system in check to make sure that the checks and balances are being enforced. We didn't do it with Bush and Cheney for the Iraq War. Where the hell were all of you when that went down? We didn't do it when it was exposed that Barack Obama, in collusion with the FBI, funneled guns to Mexican gangs that ended up on American streets. Where were you when that happened? Where were you when it was exposed that President Obama, in collusion with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was gun running to supposed moderate rebels, which, you know, after our history of interfering with politics in the Middle East for the last 50 years, there are no moderate rebels, there are no independents, they're funneling guns to terrorists, let's be honest, because that's where the weapons end up, in the hands of terrorists. Where were you people when that happened? Where were you? So when you sit there and claim that the worst candidate of the two won, are you not aware of Hillary Clinton's history? Are you not aware that as a lawyer she was disbarred? Are you not aware that both her and her husband were fined $500,000 for destruction and tampering of evidence in the Whitewater case? You know, you can gloss over, because you're a liberal and you think that all liberals are all the same and they all have your best interests at heart. You need to wake up. You need to stop elevating people that are criminals to a candidacy, to a legitimacy, just because they're liberals. Republicans learned this very quickly. After the whole Bush-Cheney saga, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. That can't happen again. So why are liberals out here defending a corrupt Democratic National Party? It's been exposed. They didn't deny it. Debbie Wasserman stepped down. She knew she got caught. But was there an omission? An admission? No. Did Hillary Clinton come out there and say, yeah, you know, she did bad. Shame on her. Shame on my people for calling the solicitation of the Latino American vote the Taco Bowl. And more has come out where she basically calls her young supporters stupid. Where her own staff has said she's unhinged, she's infirm, she's quick to fly off the handle with her temper. This is what you were supporting. And, because you thought she was married to Bill, that somehow she was going to be the next Bill Clinton. No. And even if he was, they're pulling the strings behind the scenes. Her judgment is not that great. She was pushing a de facto war with Obama, with Russia. Now, do I not think that, hey, we should be standing in the way of Russia doing what it's doing? Come on, people. But Obama's policies over the last 8 years, 4 years of her policies, her reset with the Russian Republic, all of that contributed to this. And this is what you were going to support. So, as a people, why don't we stop the bullshit? Stop the bickering, stop the hate, stop the stupid shit. I'm going to unfriend you now because you voted for Trump. Come on, people. Are we 5 years old? This is part of the problem. We gave trophies out for everybody, whether they won or lose. So now they can't accept losing. You people cannot accept. You didn't actually lose. This is the point. We have our next president. Let's see where this goes. Because you know what? Throughout history, there have been leaders that were derided and hated by their peers, but turned out to be some of the greatest leaders of history. Winston Churchill was hated ridiculously by his peers. Hated, derided, ridiculed. Churchill is now elevated as one of the best political figures ever. Margaret Thatcher, you can hate her for her social policies in England. But as a leader of a nation, she ended up being lauded for her strength as a woman. Everybody has missteps. Donald Trump is going to have missteps. Obama did. Clinton did. Bush did. They all do. They're human beings. But we as a country have to start standing our ground. The minute this man does something that flies in the face of everything this country stands for what all of us stand for, you get up off your ass and you get on the streets and you protest. And if you don't believe it works, go look at Venezuela right now. Go look at Europe. Look at Brexit. And you know, this is where Van Jones, you know, he wants to label this as racism. No. The racism was the other way around, where good, hardworking white Americans who were not racist, who are not misogynists, who are not homophobes, Islamophobes, were lumped into this huge class of you're all scum, you're all racist, you're all deplorables. That's what lost you an election. Period. Because one of the greatest things about this country is once we're here, once we're working and living together, we don't divide ourselves that way. You know, people ask, you know, why are you, this is why there are no really credible insults for white people. You can call me a cracker, whitey, saltine. Because we moved on. We moved on a long time ago. As a class of people, because we're all a human race, but as a class of people with lighter skin, we said, who gives a shit about being labeled crap? Who cares? I got a life to lead. I got a people to elevate and move forward. It's why we left Europe. We said, look, there's a social system of hierarchy of wealth and oppression. It doesn't work for us. So we left and we founded a country. A country whose founding principles are freedom and liberty, freedom of expression. Yeah, you can hate on Donald Trump all you want, but there comes a time where we need to stop. We need to stop because nobody's listening, nobody's talking, and nobody's pushing an agenda forward. For the last 4 years, Washington has been at this inefficient, lackluster stalemate because nobody's listening. We're all screaming at each other because you're not doing what I want, and I'm not doing what you want, and I'm not going to listen to you at all. No, that's not what we do in this country. But we do puke like my cats once in a while. But this is the point. It's over with. It's over with. There's no question about it. The election is over. Donald Trump won. So let's move forward. Let's make sure that groups of people that are here, that are Americans, are not denied their rights. It's very simple. It's very simple. But on the other end of the spectrum, let's start getting things done in this country. You know, one of the things that got Donald Trump elected is he says, hey, you know, America's great. Let's stop cherry picking shit to use as this divisive America is a piece of shit country. Let's stop. Let's stop. If anything, we are falling behind because we're so divisive and we can't agree on a vision forward to do anything, be it national health care, education, infrastructure, a solidified foreign policy that keeps us away from war and more of an agent of peace and progress and development in the world. Because I hate to break this news to you, but under the last two administrations, most of the world looks at us as a corrupt, divisive, manipulative empire. That's how we're viewed in the world now. And some people are out there going, oh, so what? So what? That's not what our country is supposed to be. That's not the country I want. I don't think we should ever be invading a country for any reason. I think, if anything, we should be cleaning up our own house, making sure that our version of democracy to the rest of the world is foolproof. Absolutely foolproof. That it is the paragon of what other countries want to be modeled by. And by that, I mean a country that treats its citizens as the #1 priority. Which means healthcare, education, housing, all of that. And then it goes out into the world and says, hey, look, I am now a country of plenty. I want to help you. I'm not going to shove my beliefs down your throat. I'm not going to do it at the barrel of a gun. I'm not going to try to depose your leaders because I don't like them. Do that yourself. Do that yourself. If you are so disenfranchised with your leadership, you do it. Because the best things in life are fought for, not handed to you. You can't hand people a democracy and think that it's going to work. And you can't bomb people into democracy. And you can't threaten people into a democracy. Because democracy needs to be flexible. Democratic Muslim countries don't look like America. But they're democratic. They give rights to people. Maybe not in the way that we think they should, but they do. They do. And it's not our right to tell them how to do it. But we need to be there to support them. And we need to say, look, you are now our ally. We consider Saudi Arabia our ally. Yet, they deny women rights. They still stone women. They stone homosexuals. They have the highest execution rate in the Middle East. And we consider them a friend. They funded 9/11. It's not under dispute. Elements within Saudi Arabia funded 9/11. They fund terrorism throughout the world. They fund a system of madrasas that preach hatred and murder against the West. That's what they do. Every time you go and fill up your gas tank, you're funding terrorism. So hey, as a country, why don't we start pushing renewable energies? Why don't we start pushing cleaner, more efficient, nuclear and fission energies? Why don't we get off the oil tea and encourage the rest of the world to do the same? Because this is my thing. As a nation, we need to start leading in ways that make life better for the world. We should be spearheading initiatives in disease research and renewable energies. And once we get these things, instead of being this greedy, profiteering, despicable country that we're turning into, say, hey, you know what? We just found a cure to cancer. Here you go, everybody. No patents, nothing. Go. Make it. Cure everybody. We found a renewable energy source that costs hardly anything to build and doesn't pollute. Boom! Here we go. Rest of the world, take it. Because when we stop squabbling over stupid shit like resources, religion, race, when all that goes away, humanity elevates itself, period. It is seen time and again. when we stop dividing ourselves and giving each other the tools to be a more unified, more driven, and directed people and species, we get better. But we need to also realize we need to stop taking steps backwards. We need to stop excusing malfeasance and criminal behavior and hatred on any level. And this is where I'm going to say it. Donald Trump is not an Islamophobic. He's an American. He is an American protecting American interests. Because of bad decisions in the past by our leadership, we are now a target. We are a target for international hatred, international violence, because we sat on our hands and allowed our leadership to try to enact political change through violence, through military violence, through manipulation of elections and political systems, because, everybody's out here going, Putin's pulling the strings of... Look at what the Obama administration, the Bush administration tried to do in the Middle East. Be it through transmission of arms, manipulation of elections, trying to install leaders that the rest of a country said, hey, look, one of, Obama's crowning achievements was installing a president in Iraq that everybody said, this guy hates Sunnis. He's going to unravel the country and isolate Sunnis at a time when they should be brought into the fold, and Iraq should be unified instead of being treated as three separate ethnic states. He completely ignored everybody and supported a guy who tore Iraq in half, which then fueled the rise of ISIS because it left this enormous vacuum of leadership in the country. And that's what we do. We go and we pound these countries' infrastructure and military and political systems. And then we go, oh, hey, bye, we're done. Here, enjoy your democracy. That's got to stop. That's not the way a country in a leadership role should be behaving. So when you hear Donald Trump say, I don't ever want to get into another Iraq again, but we need to stand firm against people who are out to destroy Western civilization, we should kind of be on board here. It took Obama, 3 years to finally decide, hey, ISIS needs to be stepped on? He dragged his feet trying to create a coalition with Muslim countries. Dragged his feet. Hillary didn't give a shit. Why? Because they were complicit in arming people. Why do you think France and Belgium are targets now, specifically of ISIS? Because France, in collusion with the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton, funneled munitions, guns, and arms into the Middle East at the behest of, who? The Saudis. Because, I'm not talking about Bashar Assad's human record. I'm not going there. I'm not talking about it right now. Saudi Arabia wants to be able to have a free pipeline straight through Syria for natural gas. But they want to keep all the profit. Assad said, hey, no, not through my country. No, I'm not going to agree to that. The Syrian people deserve as much money out of this as anybody else. So what happened? Now all of a sudden, you got Hillary and Obama going, Assad's got to go. Assad's got to go. We got to get this man deposed. We got to get him out. Then they start funneling munitions to supposed moderate rebels who you couldn't really tell were rebels or, former government agents. They were also using chemical weapons. Have we not learned our lesson over the last 50 years of meddling in international affairs that you don't go and arm people? I mean, have we not learned our lesson? So to wrap this up real succinctly, it's time to move on. Instead of continuing to fuel this bickering and this divisiveness and this, honest to God, anti-white American sentiment, let's stop. Because I'm going to say it now. As a white American, I'm I don't hate black people. I don't hate gay people because, hello, I'm gay, but I also don't hate gay people. I don't hate women. I don't hate minorities. I don't hate Islamic people. I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate anybody. Will I stand up against people that come after me and disrespect my views and disrespect my principles solely based on the idea that all white people are evil? Yeah. You're going to hear from me. But I'm also willing to compromise and start making solutions. One of the biggest things we have stopped doing is listening. Period. So hear me on this. Hear me on this. It's time that we put Americans, all Americans, first. People born here, working here, living here, that are trying to make this country great. Greater. Because it is great. It's such a great country because I can sit here behind a computer, behind a webcam, and give my opinion. And not have to worry that somebody's going to kick that door down tomorrow and take me off to a prison. Or worse, execute me. Think about that for a second, because this still goes on in the world. This still goes on. The 20th century. We still have barbarism and slavery and censorship and government oppression in the world. And it's not the world we should want for anybody. So let's get our shit together. Get our house in order. Open our ears. Reach a hand across the aisle and say, look, regardless of whether I like what happened, we need to start working together. We need to do what we have to make ourselves better, to make our allies better, and to make people that want to be our allies better people. Period.